Hello everyone, welcome to another video about XAF and in this case AI. Today we're going to be discussing how to start doing a few more interesting things with AI, and especially we'll talk about creating a plugin using function calling and, let's get in action. So right here, Jose, we have a factura that in English is an invoice. So we have this proof of concept in Spanish. So we have date, client, discount, and the details. Right here, you will have in this invoice product and the quantity. So let's say that I want to generate this with AI. And in this case, we will show a simple prompt, but this could come from a chat box. So you are chatting and you say, this is what I want to create. But let's get in action. So let's say that I'm going to create, and I will do it actually I will do it in English and then we'll do it I will do it in Spanish and then we'll try it in English. Create an invoice with client, and actually let me show this before we do that. We have a client, Jose, and we have a product, iPhone. We can have more products, more clients, and so on. But I don't think that we need it just to show this concept. So let me close all of this and let's do it again. Crear una factura, create an invoice con el cliente José, for client José y el producto y dos iPhones. Dos iPhones. So for the client José, two iPhones and 30% discount. All right, let's see it. All right. So if you see, Jose, he put two iPhones, product, discount 30%, client Jose, and today's date. And actually, no, he put date. I don't know when this date came up. Maybe I should have specified the date as well. So, but if you see, it create everything by itself. So I just put some text in there, some natural language, and it parse it. You were going to comment something, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good example to show that most of the interactions with the model doesn't have to be in English. It can be in any of the biggest language. It can be Spanish, Italian, French, and it will work in most of the time, depending on the model that you're using. For example, the accuracy of GPT-4o is, of course, more than GPT-4 mini, right? But for most model and for simple cases, this will be good enough, and you can tell to make the invoice in English and Spanish and Italian, and it will basically work. It will be like kind of a strange case where it doesn't work like parsing the language. So it's not only English. You can use any of the major language and will work.
Yeah, and of course, there are a few that works better than that other one. So I think OpenAI works really good in the Spanish. So, so having said that, how do we do that? So basically, this is where the concept of plugin come into place. So basically, a plugin will be a collection of kernel functions that they all will try. They all have a common objective. So right here will be to create an invoice. And if you see here, we have kernel function that it will be invoice create. We have a client assignation, so we're gonna assign the client, and we have create detail of the invoice. So that's the product. And this is a regular XAF. So right here, we're gonna check the current object that is going to be invoice, and we're gonna add a date, and we're gonna add the discount. That's for creating the invoice. Then to assign the client, we're gonna get the invoice, but we're also going to try to find the client by the name. And we're gonna commit changes, and then same thing for the detail of the invoice. So we're going to create the find the invoice, create the detail of that invoice, and assign the quantity and the product, and then assign that detail to the invoice. So if you see, important thing here is this description field where you are actually telling the model what this specific kernel function will be doing. In this case, you're going to create the detail of the invoice. Then we're going to pass the parameters, and we're going to tell each parameter what is the description. This is the name of the product. This is the quantity of the product. And then same thing with the client. This is the description. Find a client by his name and associated to the invoice. This is create an invoice with the date and the discount that we're going to be using, and so on. And if you see here, everything else is regular. We're going to create password Blazor application, password view. We can create the order space and so on. So right here, we can do anything. So what is really interesting about this Doge, and the first time that I saw this was amazing, was that basically I didn't tell him go and call this function after this function, go and call and do this orchestration. By itself was smart enough to know that the first thing that he did was create the invoice, then went to assign a client, and then went and create the detail. So if we are in Edge, if we go, and let's be actually save and close, and let's try to do one in English actually. Let's do create an invoice for client Jose, and actually let's add another product. Let's make it, we're gonna do here milk, and then come back to our, so let's do it in English, see what happened. Create an invoice for client Jose, 5 iPhone, 2 milk, and 20% discount with today's date. Let's see what happens. So it seems that today's date still didn't get it right, but it finds the client, it finds the discount, it finds the products, iPhone, milk, and the right quantity. So, well, for me, what is really amazing here is that he knew that he have to call this function twice to create those two products. So we didn't do anything. We just let the model orchestrate all of this functionality. And if we check the controller, what we're doing this basically here, we build the kernel, we put our model, what model are going to be using, and so on, the API key, and then we add to our builder or Factura plugin, and we're going to pass here the application and the view as we decided. And then we basically add that to our plugin object, put some settings, however you want that, your temperature or your prompts.
There is something, Javier, that we need to highlight, go up. That is one of the settings of the kernel is the auto invoke functions. You have it there.
Right here.
So that is what allows you to not implicitly tell, call this, then call this, then call this, then call this. Is that option that lets the model orchestrate whatever it needs to do. Otherwise, you'll have to do like, okay, call this function, and then you have to kind of tell the parameters, but that loses the magic, right? You wanted to figure out what to do. So you have several modes, and the most useful one is, for me, the auto invoke kernel functions. It will decide which of the functions that you have registered of the plugins it needs to invoke, and in which order, and so on and so on. So that's where the magic lies in the end.
Exactly. And if you see here, we basically pass the settings to the kernel, and we do invoke prop async, and we're good to go. So that will be all for this video, Oche. What I want to mention is we are seeing here starting good set of plugins that will start showing up, because if you think that now a non-technical person can start doing some chat, some really speech to voice. We saw today on Reactor real-time voice and speech, so you can actually start talking and interacting, and it will be calling or functions or code, and we will be able to provide any behavior. One of them that we will show soon will be creating an appointment. That's one of the most use case. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.